Deftones are one of those more recent bands that have managed to make it into the legendary status of the metal community, and with the resurgence of their popularity due to TikTok, their fan base has certainly been bolstered, perhaps to the chagrin of older fans. But don't write off the newer ones, they are only just discovering this awesome band. This year and month marks 20 years since the band put out their fourth record, their self-titled album, and that would have their song Lucky You featured on the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack. The lead single Hexagram was also included on a Headbangers Ball CD, and that's how I first heard about them. From humble new beginnings all the way in 1988 to their first album Adrenaline in 1995 to the groundbreaking record that was White Pony, Deftones were making waves in the music scene for a long time. Instead of talking about this record, I wanted to take a moment to discuss another one of theirs, or rather one that has never been released. Eros is a famous piece of lost media, and as such, I thought it could make for an interesting episode of Retro Review. So, on this episode, I plan to discuss the history of this album, why it was never released, and review the few songs that have been made available. To date, Deftones have 9 studio albums, 2 B-sides and 1 covers album, and 1 remix album. Eros was supposed to be the band's 6th record following Saturday Night Wrist. Saturday Night Wrist was a true storm in a teacup moment for the band. Previously they had gone from emulating the scene in the mid-90s to creating it with their highly successful White Pony album released in 2000. With their self-titled effort showing the band creating an incredibly heavier sound while still retaining their moody atmosphere, the record execs weren't exactly thrilled. You see, it didn't live up to commercial expectations, which seems to be quite true. The album was certified gold, but compared to their last 2 albums reaching platinum status, it was a step backward, and the label told them to get back in the studio and record their next album. Their self-titled release would also be Terry Date's last album he produced for the band until Ohms in 2020. Terry had served as the band's producer their whole career up until that point, but the band wanted someone who could bring some discipline into their camp. Terry was more like a friend and somewhat of a 6th member to the band. Originally, the new producer for Saturday Night Wrist was going to be Dan Nakamura, who famously produced the Gorillaz' first album. However, this would change to Bob Erzon, who has an extremely accomplished career with many artists, but highlights to me include Pink Floyd's The Wall and Division Bell, 9 Inch Nails' The Fragile, Peter Gabriel for his first album, and Nils Lofgren for his album Nils. He has also worked with Kiss, Alice Cooper, Aerosmith, Deep Purple, Jane's Addiction, and 30 Seconds to Mars, to name a few. He was also the person who demonstrated to the band that he was in command. And to listen to him, when he first came through for a playthrough on the album, he shouted to stop after 30 seconds into their first track, and everyone just shut up and listened to him. Steven didn't really enjoy this and became a bit reclusive during the writing of this record, and he would end up playing video games after going through his divorce at the same time. On top of this, Chino was also very distracted during recordings, as he had issues having knocked up his girlfriend at the time, unbeknownst to his wife. He would also go through a divorce during the recording, and ended up drinking a lot, even shutting himself off from others. Even worse was Chi Cheng's accident. No, not that one. That comes later. Spoiler alert. Chi suffered a biking accident that blew out his knees and chipped his tooth that required him to be airlifted to a hospital. It seemed all the odds were just stacked against the band to put out the album, which was mostly finished by 2004, San Marino's lyrics, which he delayed due to writer's block, and then he delayed even more as he focused on his side project Team Sleep. Eventually, though, the band did release their album Saturday Night Wrist, meant to salvage the band and strengthen their image. Instead, it was released with mixed reactions and reviews, showing a band that was strained by the rock and roll lifestyle. Chino was overweight and the band unfocused and disheveled. It was dark times for this part of their careers. They needed a win. So Terry Date was brought back to help with the recording of their upcoming 6th album, tentatively called Eros, which takes its name suitably from the Greek god of love and sex. In late 2007, the band were back in the studio to start on making new material for the album. Chino described the music they were writing during this time as weird, unorthodox, featuring a lot of atmosphere, soundscaping and aggression. So, the usual Deftones sound. The recording process was an unusual effort, with Chi Chang and Abe going sober around this time. Chino, Steven and Sean Lopez would balance out the yang in the band, with Chino stating they were the toxic trio. Chino would go on to add that it was a difficult time as he transitioned to life as a single father, balancing the recording of Eros with looking after his kids. The band would put out updates of the material they were working on with various states of progress. Once again, the band found themselves in a slump and delayed the release in order to get their creativity flowing again. It seems by all accounts the recording of Eros was in a similar affair as Saturday Night Wrist was, until the incident that would change the band forever happened. One day in November 2008, Chi Chang was involved in a car accident while returning from his brother's memorial service that left him in a semi-comatose state. As he was found not to be wearing a seatbelt when the car flipped 3 times, the insurance company left his family in the lurch to get all the medical bills sorted. Over the coming months and years, various bands, organisations and charity groups would assist the medical bills, with the website One Love for Chi attributing the collection of funds. Benefit concerts were being announced, and Peter donated 20% of one of their shirt designs to go to the website. With a widespread community effort, the original goal of $20,000 was achieved before newer goals were set and complete, until eventually reaching $500,000 over the next 2 years. Fieldy from Korn would also record a track for Chi, which featured guest musicians such as Jim Root and Sid from Slipknot, Dave McLean from Machine Head, Wayne Lozanak from Hatebreed, Wav from POD, Mike Wengren from Disturbed, and Adam Dukowitz from Killswitch Engage. All the proceeds for this song would go to Chi. This was also the second song that Fieldy had written as a tribute to his longtime friend and a testament to his character. Naturally, the recording of Eros came to a halt after this, and the band's future was hanging by a thread. Imagine seeing one of your friends that you have known for decades, one you went to school with and lived in the same house with, and spent most of your time with, become a husk of himself. This event must have been traumatic and stressful for the band, in particular with Abe and Chino. They would commit in the touring with the meantime, with Sergio of Quicksilver filling in on bass duties. As time came on, it became apparent the injuries Chi sustained may leave him in a permanent vegetative state. As awful as it may sound, the band had to proceed without Chi, eventually hiring Sergio full-time to replace him. I'm sure this was not a decision the band took lightly, but I am happy they managed to proceed, as it brought with him the opportunity for the band to clear things up and record a new album, the one that would eventually become their 6th LP.
Deftones are getting ready to release their new album Diamond Eyes on May 18th. It's the band's 6th full-length album, and it was produced and mixed by the same guy who worked on Alice in Chains' Golden God Award-winning Black Gives Way to Blue. He also shared the latest on the condition of bassist Chi Chang, who was left in a coma after a car accident.
Chi's doing, he's making progress. It's slow progress, but he's doing better. And, we went and saw him actually last weekend. And, I have hope, that he's going to make it through it. And I think, that's all we can do.
Diamond Eyes was released in 2010 to critical acclaim. If there was something to be gained from this hardship, it was a silver lining that Chi's accident had brought the band that was on the verge of imploding back together, bonded by grief and respect for their mortality, which allowed them to cherish life while respecting their former bandmates. Chi Chang would pass away on the 13th of April 2013, possibly due to complications from his condition. Well, this is where it gets complicated. You see, I've backed myself into a corner doing a review on an album that technically has never been released. According to the best source of information available, Wikipedia, there were going to be 11 or 12 tracks, with working titles of these songs being named after various strippers. This was due to the band's frequent attending of strip clubs during the recording process to help with their writing. I wonder if I should use the same method to approach my work. Of the unreleased songs, there were only 5 named, which are Dallas, Destiny, Melanie, Tempest, and Smile. Fortunately, not all was lost, as at least 3 songs did emerge from these recording sessions, to my knowledge, with many videos being mislabeled or B-side recordings, and I've tried to find all of them, so if I've missed any of them, let me know below, because I would be keen to hear it. The 3 that I found were Melanie, Dallas, and Smile, and possibly a 4th? So let's check it out. The The version of this song is an early live performance by the band, and the video's information has it labelled as being recorded in 2008 on the 18th of September. I've also checked with Setlist FM and found that they performed this song twice. The track is a very fast tempo, aggressive tune akin to their debut album's works, but if I'm being honest, I'm not the biggest fan of their debut album. This track does go hard and taps into that early raw power they possessed, so I can see the love for it. Dallas is an interesting piece. It's very atmospheric in its guitar tunes and underlaying keyboard synths. However, it is left with a very unfinished and raw production quality, as can be heard in particular with the drums and bass section. There are no vocals for this track, which I feel adds to the song really, showcasing the band's ability to write a deeply brooding tune. The guitar section's sweeping tone throughout the song, and the solo takes me away to another plane of existence. I feel that you could use this instrumental piece over footage found from our solar system, and it would showcase what I'm feeling right now when I hear this song, Dallas. Smile is the only track from the Eros sessions that has surfaced with near complete production. Easily the most refined and edited song out of the three, and it has this really smooth electronic synth intro before kicking into gear and a fantastic transition that feels seamless. It's one insanely great song that has technically not been released by the band. While editing this video, I actually found out Chino released this song just after Chi's passing, so technically it was released, but only by Chino, and it was taken down, but not before being mirrored by several sites. I would wager a bet that this would have been the first single from the album, and it blows my mind what could have transpired from the rest of the sessions. Now, I mentioned the possibility of a fourth track before, and I'm sure people have already theorised which one it is. Now, I'm only speculating this, but I feel like some of the tunes from Eros made its way under Koi no Yokan in their sessions, in particular on the track Tempest, which is possibly the fourth song. My logic behind this is the similarities in song titles: Tempest, Trempest, only one letter the difference. Also the lyrics on the tune. Many have drawn comparisons to The End of the World, with the album being released in 2012, as the lyrics do allude to an ancient arrival. If you ignore this, however, the rest of the lyrics could be interpreted as their fallen comrade Chi, with lines like "take out the stories they put in your mind and wait for the glory," as well as "turning in circles, caught in a stasis," which strongly seems to be about Chi's condition post his accident. Again, I'm not certain, but due to the music not being finished and the ideas I guess still being at the forefront of Steven's mind, he may have reused riffs in the sessions for Koi no Yokan or Diamond Eyes. We may have no way of telling, however. There is some evidence that backs up my theory here, and that is with Chino confirming that they did reuse one of the track names that was meant for Eros on Diamond Eyes. That track was Now You've Seen the Butcher. Whether or not this track was in fact reworked for Diamond Eyes or not, it's really hard to say because they've not confirmed this. So this is the part of the episode where I give my review on the album and score it on the spicy scale and list my favourite tracks. But, well, as mentioned before, the album has never been released, so how can I fairly give it a rating on it? On this instance, I will forego my ratings, due to this album being a lost piece of media and not enough of it being in a final state, but I will say Smile is a great track. Many fans have asked the band to just release the album, but at the end of the day, this record was never completed, and as Chino has stated, these songs are sitting on a hard drive in their unfinished state since the day Chi had his accident. The band have never revisited this record since that fateful day in 2008, and as such, this album became one of those great pieces of lost media that I feel we will never see. In another world, Eros may have seen the light of day, and it is fun to consider the possibilities of what if, but we will have to suffice for what we have now. And I feel that the band have preserved in a stronger state post this era, and have triumphed over the trauma to create some of the best records ever written in the past 15 years of music, as they continue to gain new fans. And I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on this statement. Even though we mourn the loss of Chi, I would recommend to revisit their self-titled album in his memory, as it turns 20 today. Also, make sure to check out my video on the rankings of Deftones albums from worst to best. Thank you for checking out this episode of Retro Reviews on Deftones. It was certainly a long episode for me to record. In fact, I accidentally deleted it when I first did the edits. So, yep, this episode has gone on for a long time now. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Comment below for your thoughts on what could have been on Eros. And as always, people, have a great day and stay spicy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Live Listen Erased. And if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our Chili Con Carnage crew so you can get notified for all the future videos that we put out, as we put out videos every Friday. Also, we are on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter over at Live Listen Erased, so make sure to tune in over there. And don't forget to like this video so that our manager can stay very happy.